Welcome back to SportsLine here on News Channel 5 Plus. We are having a great time. Impact Wrestling is coming back to the area next week, the 23rd and 24th.
That's it.
Back here at Skyway Studios in Nashville, and you can go and check it out. And of course, Bound for Glory comes your way early next month, the biggest pay-per-view of the year for Impact Wrestling. There it is right there. Josh Alexander takes on one of my guests, Eddie Edwards, for the World Championship, and of course Steve Maclin involved in a lot of cool stuff as well. Great to have you guys here in studio. I really do miss hanging around the tapings and everything at Impact Wrestling. So hopefully I can get back involved at some point. So
it feels like we're sitting on a couch at Skyway right now.
That one couch we're all just sit and chill, you know, during the taping.
A candy dish in there.
Exactly. Oh yeah, great Jolly Ranchers and mints and everything like that. All right, so. And go with this wherever you want to go. But there's so much going on in professional wrestling. This has been one of the most newsworthy years in the history of professional wrestling. Vince McMahon steps down from WWE. Triple H takes over. There's all kinds of stuff going on at AEW with CM Punk and the EVPs. What do you make of what's going on in professional wrestling? Because I know you guys try to keep up with everything that's going on. You guys are, obviously focused on Impact, but start with you, Eddie. Take it wherever you want to go. What is the state of professional wrestling right now? And more specifically, let's start with AEW. What are your thoughts on what's going on there?
For me, it's similar to the Barbed Wire Massacre. I sit back with my popcorn and watch it unfold. You never know the true story, the exact story of what's going on, and there's obviously 1,000 different sides to this story that's going around. And you hear bits and pieces, but I'm the type of guy, and this may be an escape out of this question for me, but I'm the type of guy that if I wasn't there firsthand to experience it, I don't know what's going on. And I know all the guys that are involved, and I'm very friendly with all of them. So it's tough to believe some things that are going on. It's craziness, and it's professional wrestling. I mean, this is stuff that we've heard about from back in the day of things going down in territory days or backstage locker room fights or this and that's going on. I was never a part of any of that, and to hear it's going on, it's kind of crazy, but it's professional wrestling too. It's wild.
Steve, you feel the same way?
Yeah, I don't know. Good publicity, bad publicity is always publicity.
Right.
So it's more eyes on products with AEW, with the changes in WWE, and then also with Impact. And that's the one thing where the Forbidden Door was this thing for a while, and Impact's been doing that for so long, and they're the forefront of it before I even was there. And bringing in talents from Japan, from AAA, from ROH, and having that come in there, and then AEW kind of taking that reign, and then even AEW talent coming to Impact. And you see everything going around, and it's just good to see pro wrestling is talked about more, and whether negative or not. And does it stink that it is negative talk sometimes? Yes, but at the same time, that's not my business.
Right.
And like Eddie said, I'm not there to see firsthand what happened. I don't know. It's always a hearsay thing, and it's always that game of telephone. And that's not my business. Right now, my focus is on Victory Road with Barbed Wire Massacre, and that's where I always kind of go. And the more I've grown in my career, I just stay in my lane.
Stay in your lane, yeah.
And I think that's the best way to be successful now in pro wrestling with social media, with everything going on.
Right.
Just that game of telephone, and then it just goes like this, and it just turns into something completely different.
Right. Telephone, telegraph, telewrestler.
That's
right.
it. You got it. You got it.
Telewrestler.
Honestly, it also makes me, sit back and be grateful for, like we talked about, the locker room at Impact. Little things happen here and there, but as a whole, it's a great atmosphere, and you can tell that by, as he mentioned, a lot of wrestlers who come in and come out from other companies. The word spreads, and we hear through the grapevine from people who have never been to Impact, but they've heard how good of an atmosphere it is, which that's just a positive thing for us.
Yeah, and I've seen it firsthand, just walking around behind the scenes and just hanging out with you guys. Steve, that's a great point you make as far as staying in your lane, but we're hearing about what's going on at WWE in terms of Vince stepping down, Paul Levesque, Triple H is kind of taking over, and you're hearing about all of a sudden it's not a bad thing to come to work anymore. You spent some time at WWE. I'm sure you still have some friends there. Have you heard from any of them? What have they said about the changes at WWE since Vince McMahon was kind of forced to step down?
We have friends that liked it under Vince, and then you have fans that didn't like it under Vince McMahon. And obviously everybody who is the boss, like Scott D'Amore at Impact, Scott has his guys. Anybody, whoever is in charge of somewhere, at some point has their people. And that's just how it works in a pecking order, and it is a business. You have your top guys and that are paid a certain rate, and they're taken care of up there. And then it goes down the list to your mid-card and then to your low-card. And everything's just trickled down like that.
Yeah.
But for me, just if you're happy, you're happy. If you're making money and if everybody else is making money, and that's the good thing too. If the business is doing well, WWE's ratings pick up, if AEW's ratings pick up, and Impact's ratings keep picking up, especially with pay-per-views coming up that we have, like Bound for Glory and Victory Road, and it's can't miss. And that's the one thing we want to make Impact is can't miss, and that's the one thing good for wrestling is we want more people involved, more butts in seats.
Right.
And that's what I love. That's our challenge. That's my challenge too. Like, may not be the champion, but like I want to be the champion one day, and I want to be able to carry it to get more butts and seats and have people come see it.
If you don't want to be the champion, if you don't want to be the top guy, what the hell are you doing here, right?
Yeah.
Is that kind of your philosophy?
Yes. And that's just one of those things. Like I learned that there. Obviously, like going back to being the pecking order, like I was in a place where I knew I was only at a certain level. I had to get fired to now show them my worth.
Right.
Whether I go back there down the road or not, I still have a good working relationship with those people that are there, that are still there. But my goal is to make Impact Wrestling the best that it can be and make it a better place. And then if I do leave it better than I came into.
Well, about a month ago, maybe a little bit more, we had probably the greatest professional wrestling weekend in this city's history. We had WWE SummerSlam over at Nissan Stadium, and then the next night, right across the street, right over here at Municipal Auditorium, was Ric Flair's last match. Now, the match was what it was, if you saw it. But, you know, the fact that Ric Flair was able to get into the ring and get through a match and go out on his terms. I mean, if you watch professional wrestling, you follow professional wrestling, if you are current wrestlers like these guys are, a former wrestler like myself, you know, Ric Flair has been an influence at some juncture of your wrestling journey. Eddie, I'll start with you. What has Ric Flair meant to this sport, to this business? You know, can you put into words his legacy?
I mean, you say how much he influenced us and wrestlers, but he's somebody who's he crossed over to pop culture. That's how big of an icon he is. You know, people made rap songs about him. He's been in, you know, commercials, not just on wrestling shows, but real life, regular commercials.
I asked him about that at his press conference when they were announcing the last match. I said, Rick, I said, do you realize how much of an icon you become? I said, there are rappers who weren't even alive when you were, you know, when you first became NWA champion that do rap songs about you. And he blew it off like, well, yeah, it's, you know, I'm Ric Flair. What do you want? You know?
He's over.
But yeah, exactly. But the impact he's had, like you said, like obviously Hulk Hogan is the Babe Ruth of professional wrestling, but man, Ric Flair's like right there.
I mean, without a doubt. There's no doubt about it. And, you know, I was lucky enough to be a part of that card, you know, of Ric Flair's last match. I opened the show with a tag team match, and just the atmosphere of it all. Like,
there was a buzz in the arena.
There was a buzz, and, you know, sometimes we get jaded as wrestlers when you meet guys that you grew up watching and, you know, all this stuff. And it doesn't usually faze me or anything like that, but, you know, I made sure to stand out in the arena as, you know, Flair's making his entrance, his last entrance, and it was chills. It was something that, you know, I was happy to be a part of. Yeah. Whether or not I had to, again, wake up early, go to the airport, maybe travel all this, you know, I don't want to do it. But then you get there and it's like, man, this is cool. Yeah. This is cool.
Steve, what has Ric Flair meant in your wrestling journey?
Again, transcended into pop culture, and he's one of the first people that did. Four Horsemen, like, growing up wrestling, like, that was my dad's guys. And it's just funny to just, all these years later, like, I look to that and, like, I want to emulate that the best I can to elevate wrestling, and that's what they did, was elevate wrestling at that time. And during the Crockett years and WCW, and just, yeah, my wife-to-be was on the show as well, and watching at home, and I was just like, wow, I'm kind of jealous. Because, like, and she even sent me that she has one of the posters as well from the show. I'm like, you realize you need to keep that, because like, that's just a keepsake. Like, did you ever think that you would be a part of Ric Flair's last match? And it's just something you never think probably when you got into your career, like, holy crap, like, this is something meaningful, and my name is on the same marquee as Ric Flair's last match.
So she's got bragging rights over you for that, right?
She's got bragging rights all over. She has all the replica titles on the wall of the titles she's won. I still have none, so it's okay. I was like, cool, the house is my title, don't worry.
No doubt about it. Now, I'd asked Steve how he got into it. I believe, were you trained by Kowalski?
Killer
Kowalski in
yeah.
Boston?
Yes,
Or in the
indeed.
New England area?
Yeah. Yeah.
How old were you when you started
I
training?
was 17.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up watching it. I grew up watching it.
For those that
real
don't know,
young.
Killer Kowalski was a
Yeah.
legendary trainer. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
He's left us, right?
He
He trained Triple H. He trained some of the best
Perry
wrestlers.
Saturn,
Yeah.
John Cronus, Big John Studd, all those guys. But I got into it when I was 17. I was a big fan. As a kid growing up, the Hulk Hogan's, Macho Man's, Warriors, all that stuff.
Sure.
Kind of fell out of it for a few years, but my early teens, 12, 13, I got back into it, and for me, it was just like, man, this is wild. Like, some people have one match or one wrestler who got them to be a wrestler. For me, it was everything, man. It was the athleticism, the physicality, the entertainment, the showmanship, the pyro, just everything about it. I was like, I have to do this. I have to do this. And Killer Kowalski had a school, Malden, Massachusetts. I went down, checked it out. I thought I had to be 18. He said, no, you can join. I said, okay, borrowed money from my little brother who lives here in Nashville.
Oh, wow.
Borrowed money from him to join wrestling school, which will forever hold that over my head.
Of course.
That's bragging.
That is good bragging.
We'll
We'll give your brother a shout out.
Shout out, Colin. What up, brother? Going to hang out with him tonight. All right, see you soon. Got to joined when I was 18.
Wow.
That's it, baby.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
So, first bump. Everybody's got a story of their first bump.
Wasn't that bad.
Yeah?
Yeah, running the ropes hurt after a
Yeah.
while.
Oh.
That's what got me more. The bumps weren't that bad just because I grew up just emulating what I saw on TV or I thought was doing it right. But I don't know. I guess having a little athleticism, because you played sports growing up, like if it's kind of an advantage if you were at least a decent athlete and understood how to move your body or control your body, then that's kind of the benefit of getting into the ring.
Good stuff. One last break. We're back after this.